anyone here would like to say a word about any of these people, there will be a brief time to do that. Jenny Penny was known to people at Moss Park, died this summer. Sebastian Martin died September 6th of cancer. Everett Sheldon Rich, who is a member of the Wabauskang First Nation. Everett enjoyed visiting family and friends, playing cards, games like Texas Hold'em and 31, listening to music, and watching sports. He thoroughly enjoyed fishing and going out on nature walks. He was only 30 when he died. Jeffrey Dagg died November 17. Brendan Kelly died November 19. Jesse Eicher, known as Cathy, died November 20th. He was in his 30s, early 30s. I talked to Jesse in July, the morning a city parks ambassador had slashed his tent at around 7 a.m. that morning with a knife. The effect of this violence and was devastating for Jesse, the invasion and destruction of his home. But those who knew Jesse also knew him to be poetic, really generous. One time he gave his sweater to Wafa one morning when it was freezing, and it left him with only a t-shirt. His goal in life was to go to college. He wanted to be a community worker. Also, in November, Jane Doe. In November, Jane Doe. In November, John Doe. Billy Malloy died recently. I'm trying to confirm the date. He was known to people at Lamport, in the Lamport encampment. We're trying to confirm two other names, a Dave and a Michael. I'd also like to take a few moments to acknowledge people that were previously homeless or known to the community. Chris Scarborough, Dree, he died of pancreatic cancer in hospital. He was with his kids and family when he died, and there was a memorial celebration of his life. Dree, 20 years ago, was one of the first living alone at Tent City and became a leader of the kind of the movement to stand up for people's rights.
Is that Dry or a tree?
Dry, sorry.
Dry, yes.
Thank you, Kevin. Dry was also on the steering committee of TDRC.
Yeah.
Also known to the community, Kaylee, Max, and many people knew Teresa Doucette, who died on November 3rd. So before we have a moment of silence, I just wanted to ask if anybody would like to say a word about any of the people I just mentioned.
I will. Well, as you can see, my eyes are watering hearing about the loss of Dry. I intended to come up and speak out about my good friend Jenny Penny, who was also on the list. But for those who don't know who Dry is, there's a book. You can Google it. It's called Dying for a Home. And it was a book that followed 10 activists who were homeless themselves. And I myself and Dry were two of the people in that book, with Brian Boyd, who passed away, and Nancy. And out of the 10 of us, it was ironic, by the time the book came out, half of us had died, and Dry and myself were a few of the remaining ones. So it really touched me to know that he has passed, and we ask God to accept him into the kingdom of heaven. Jenny Penny has been a good friend of mine for a long time, and I love her to the bottom of my heart, and I was saddened to hear about her death. Too many people are dying on the streets of Toronto, and as Greg just said, a lot of them are Jane Does. So before this memorial, I did send an invitation out to all 24 city councillors and to all MPPs in Ontario, and I don't see any of them here today. So I will resend the invitation and invite them to January 12th for the Toronto Homeless Memorial at the Church of the Holy Trinity. Hopefully, a few days after that, I will be your 25th city councillor, because I am one of the candidates in Scarborough Agincourt for city councillor. And I call on Mayor John Tory to stop his cruel, inhumane treatment of the citizens and the people of the City of Toronto and the province of Ontario. And we ask the provincial level of government and the federal level of government to get involved, because these homeless deaths in Toronto is not just people who live in Toronto. It's people who came to Toronto from other parts of the province, from the suburbs and other parts of the country, which you can tell by the large amount of Jane Doe. I'm very thankful to the people of Holy Trinity, who is doing an excellent job to hold the fort. And all we have to do is keep being persistent and keep showing up. And I encourage any member of the public who is concerned about homeless death, realize when a homeless man die or a homeless woman die, this is not a homeless person who died. I read one article when I was doing a research on homeless, and it says this young lady, when she died, she was 31. She left behind 3 brothers. She left behind her stepmother. She left behind her mother. She left behind her grandparents. One of them had passed. And she left behind, there was 6 or 7 nieces or nephews that was mentioned. So when you hear about a homeless person on the streets of Toronto, don't look at them as homeless. Look at them as one of your loved ones. Somebody who was brought up just from a little baby all the way to where they're at. And let's give them the support that the city is not giving them. Everyone have a blessed and happy day, and we thank you all for coming out, and I hope the rest of you will come out on January 12th, and at that period of time, I will invite all federal member of parliaments to come to Toronto and all provincial and municipal city councillors so we can address this issue. We can do something about it. It's called affordable housing and support. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you for those words, Kevin.
God bless.
So I'm going to read the names again that we put on the memorial today, and we'll have a moment of silence. Jenny Penny, Sebastian Martin, Everton Sheldon Rich, Jeffrey Stagg, Brandon Kelly, Jesse Eicher, known as Sketchy, Jane Doe, John Doe, Billy Malloy,